Hi there, and welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and we're exploring the wonderful region of the Cotswolds in southwest England. We decided to revisit the centre of the region and find some hidden gems, places that are not quite so famous, but still just as beautiful. And today you find Ross, Widget, Gizmo and me in the little village of Daglingworth. Now, this is just one more village in this extraordinary valley that we've been travelling down in the last few days. We're having such a wonderful time in this great May weather. We're going to show you around. Come with me. This valley, carved from the limestone by the River Dunt, which still forms the artery of all the little villages that dot the valley floor, illustrates perfectly Evan's description of the two kinds of Cotswold landscape. He wrote, "This little valley of Daglingworth and the Duntersbournes is the last of those of the East Cotswold type. I've already alluded to the distinction. The eastern valleys are depressions in the open down, the western deep wooded ravines. By a curious coincidence, this distinction exactly corresponds to that between the water areas of the Thames and of the Severn, so that either area is in a way in harmony with the general character of its own river." Because we aren't following Evans in a proper chronological order, we've already visited, and I have no doubt we'll return to the steep ravines of Nailsworth and the Golden Valley, but at Daglingworth we are, as he suggests, right on the watershed of the two. If you keep your eyes up towards the horizon as you enter this village, you will see the ancient Saxon Church high on the western slope, next to the pretty symmetrical Daglingworth house. There's a small car park next to the church for those of you who might want to visit, but the lane up to it is narrow enough for me to advise its use only in a smallish car. However, when you get to it, this church is full of fascinating insights into the dim, distant past, and treasures of all kinds. A great deal of work was done on this church in the 19th century, but its Saxon origins, and in particular its Roman relics, are remarkable. We're very close to Cirencester, or as it was known in Roman times, Corinium, and there are several Roman villas and remains nearby. We have, after all, recently enjoyed a fascinating visit to Chedworth Roman Villa, which is close by. And in this church are several relics from this time. Above the porch door is what's left of a fine sundial. Whilst the porch itself is probably 15th century, it uses stone from the original Saxon west door, dismantled when the tower was added, leaving another Saxon sundial on the inner wall over the unusually narrow south doorway, clearly of no use, as the sun never reaches it. The font is of the usual octagonal shape and probably 15th century. The glass is mostly 19th century. And in the floor of the porch is a brass plaque that is worth a look and reads as follows: "The direction and distribution of Giles Handcocks, who earth bequeathed to earth, to heaven his soul, to friends his love, and to the poor a £5 dole, to remain forever and be employed for their best advantage and relief in Daglingworth, April the 9th, 1638. Now, one of the reference books I've used to educate myself whilst exploring this region is the remarkable series of architectural guides founded by Sir Nicholas Pevsner in 1950. The volume that covers this area is edited by David Very and Alan Brooks, and in general follows the usual Pevsner format of magnificent detail and fascinating scholarship but pretty jolly dry on emotion and feeling. This church, however, brings out an emotional response in these sturdy academics that I can't resist reading to you. By the pulpit, the small carved stone Saxon Crucifixion, formerly on the external east wall, is presumably from around 1010 to 1020. It is markedly different from the other three larger panels, also of local stone, which are Romanesque in style, though certainly pre-conquest. These are most competently executed, but extremely moving in their simplicity. The fact that they were reused as the jambs of the chancel arch, i.e. discarded, must surely argue for a date significantly earlier than the late Saxon Church. A 9th to 10th century date is perhaps possible, though even earlier dates have been suggested. The crucifixion by the south door follows the North Syrian tradition, with Christ flanked by Longinus bearing the spear and scourge, and Stephaton with bucket and sponge. In the north aisle are the single but equally moving figures of St. Peter with his key and Christ in majesty, both wearing long robes with knotted girdles. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is as emotional as you can expect from these serious writers, but you can take it from me that the emotional impact of these stones is extraordinary. As we drove round the village with Ross sticking his head out of the roof, clutching his incredibly sophisticated gimbaled camera — don't tell the police, by the way — we knew we were capturing the very special atmosphere of a Cotswold village, content in its structure and almost certainly feeling very much like it did 900 years ago. A comfortable collection of 17th to 20th century houses and barns on both sides of the Dunt stream, all exuding peace and contentment in this sunny May weather. There is another nucleus at lower end in a southeast direction where Daglingworth Manor, an early mid-17th century house which has been much altered and extended over the years, has a very splendid 15th century dovecote in the gardens, which is probably the last sign of a colony of nuns from Godstow, who had a cell here and which was patron of the living. The dovecote, I'm told, is extremely well preserved. I do hope you've enjoyed our little spin round this wonderful settlement of Daglingworth. Don't forget, this is no place for coaches. This is a place for quiet travel. We met two perfect tourists today, two ex-clerics travelling the lovely churches of this part of the world, having such a wonderful, peaceful time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can find us on all the normal platforms, but we'll see you somewhere else in the Cotswolds very soon. Goodbye.